And we are back. Thank you all so much for your patience. We've got Cowboy Vac Pop facing off against the hopeful pickup in our next match of Splatoon 3. How do you feel about these two? I know they got some pretty fun names going on, but what about the players?
Yeah, I feel like one of them's a pickup, and I know in my experience they're extremely unpredictable, both in good and bad ways. So we'll see. Crab-like Zone's one of my personal favorites. It's game one here. It's a lot of area, a lot of open space, and if you got a weapon that like an ink brush or just a spatling that can just run around on the top of the grates, that's really easy to lock out.
Yeah, no, this can be a really good stage for clever tactics such as that. There's a lot of room and maneuverability to be able to kind of run about. If the opposing team doesn't have a strong eye looking over the arena, there's a lot of situations where you can kind of sneak around and catch the other players off guard. But we'll have to see how that kind of plays out here. As we dive in, Cowboy Vac Pop coming in. We do have an ink vac weapon there with the, what's that one called? The squeezer. Or no,
The
that's
Jet Squelcher.
Squelcher, thank you. And we got the Dark Tetra Dualies along with the Slosher and another NZAP because we always need that Tacticooler.
Yeah, on pickup is running double back here, or at least partially with the edit and ZNF, which is interesting. Don't see many double back comps around, that's for sure.
That is pretty interesting. Alongside that, they've got the splatter shot, and then they've got a Dread Rainer set up for themselves, so they've got some solid reef sliders. Tried to go in somewhere there, but he got sniped down by a Trizuka in the end. A terrible way to go.
Yes, we love and hate Trizukas. Just for the great clips they can get and create, but here we go. Pickup just struggling to get in here to finally just hold the zone momentarily. But they're struggling on paint. They've got a lot of lag with paint control. They need something, and they need it now.
Managed to get one splat that hopefully is enough for them to be able to gain control. They are able to perform enough paint output. Now they're in a place where they might be able to play the game they're looking for, where their loadout definitely does struggle on paint outside of that Dread Rainer. But it's got a lot of power, and it's got a lot of controlling tools equipped. So as long as they can get the right hits, the right snipes, and follow-ups, they can definitely hold out. But we're seeing some pretty unfortunate misses from this Charger. Finally gets one connection. Trying to go for another. I think they were just out of range to make that work. Are still hanging on, clinging on by dear life as their opponents just continue to put a lot of scary pressure on them. But yeah, right now they're still holding fast. They are still holding strong. And as long as they can keep this going, as long as the Charger can continue to display advantage in this situation, they might be able to close this out and take the lead. They get the knockout.
I didn't want to interrupt, but I did want to say that the second that Charger got onto the top grade, onto top mid and the top right, you need to find any special you can to just get them away from that area, because that Charger has eyes on the entire map from that area. As we saw one drop, as we saw another try and roost slide into the zone. And it was kind of like the game we saw just earlier. Of 1 minute, it looks like one team has sealed the deal, and the next minute, the zone flips, and all of a sudden, they just have to lead. As, that Charger just kept poking and just slowed Cowboy Vac Pop down a little bit.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I see what you were saying about that. Great, because they were able to, even with the Reef Slider charging, just like peek out from the side just enough to be
Yeah.
able to see them and continue to just pressure the Cowboy Vac Pop. Even in a situation like that, that is such a strong position, and I think that kind of explains what they were going. Hopeful Pickup was going for with that team comp was their loadout seems to excel in advantage. If they can get a
Yes.
strong advantage, they can hold it really well because having a heavy edit plus a charger means that you're just covering a lot of ground. Most teams usually pick one or the other, but
Yeah.
having both means that you can't push on them unless you just like completely overwhelm them.
Yeah,
So if
they
they
had a
get,
lot.
go ahead.
Right. I was just gonna say they had a lot of spacing, and they also had the Dread 2, which is able to just poke so far on ledges from the lower end. And again, that Reslider is huge. We'll see what gets run here as we head into game 2, Inkblot Tower control.
And it looks like they're all kind of wanting to stick to the same, but we see the Dread Rainer is swapped out for a Carbon Roller Deco, which is a very scary tool when used in the right hands. So I'm eager to see how the Hopeful Pickup kind of handles this situation because they have a lot of firepower, not necessarily the paint output, but they have the tools to be able to just kind of annihilate Cowboy Vac Pop if Vac Pop are not ready to handle the amount of pressure and damage that can be applied here.
Yeah, paint output doesn't. I mean, it still matters, obviously, but it matters a little least considering the mode isn't based on paint output. Tower control, it's a little slower, a little stallier, and you can afford to take your time a little bit to coordinate defense and pushes.
Indeed, indeed. That said, Cowboy Vac Pop managing to get some good tempo. They are holding fast, putting a lot of pressure on the Hopeful Pickup, who are now trying to make a counter push. We do have the triple Trizuka not really getting that much damage, but forcing Cowboy Vac Pop back. And all of a sudden, just that little bit of pressure, that little bit of fear has been more than enough room for them to be able to start their own counter push. And now they're in that position of power that they like to be in.
Yeah, we saw it last game of Cowboy Vac Pop just getting a really early and intense push, but the second that Hopeful Pickup get on the advantage, it is just non-stop. What feels just like relentless pushing forward. As we see a pick there from the splash shot. 3 going down for Hopeful Pickup though, as Cowboy Vac Pop hoping to now try and retake that lead that they once had.
That little bit of extra breathing room, the little bit of space, the two ways to be able to approach the base, definitely helping out Vac Pop there. And when they were in a rough position, they were able to kind of sneak around and push up and catch Hopeful Pickup completely off guard. And once again have reclaimed that lead, they are now in the position to press. But we've got the Tacticooler set up. It is counter push time for the Hopeful Pickups as this Heavy Edit is just trying to do some damage, makes the call to jump away safely. Might have been better to try to jump to a teammate, but that is definitely a safe call to make, and they are definitely not getting taken out in this situation.
Yeah, they try. It looks like they tried pushing it alone. Realized that they didn't really have the support they wanted, and with the cooler jumps, just negating that jump time, massively, so they were able to get back in and get back in the action there. As Cowboy Vac Pop now try and push this lead a little further, at least stall it for now, as they are struggling to just kind of get out of plat and into mid here. Hopeful Pickup.
They are definitely getting pressed down with the amount of damage coming in. Carbon coming in and completely surprising Cowboy Vac Pop, who seemed to pretty confident that they had things under control, but a clever bit of movement allowed the Carbon Roller to just kind of slip by, get the reset going, and now all of a sudden Vac Pop is back in their base, trying to find a way back in as this ZNF Splat Charger trying to, or just continue to apply pressure, trying to play it safe, not get too invested anywhere. And despite the strong push that is going on from Vac Pop, they're not too far ahead, but they don't need to worry about that when they're getting wipeouts.
We saw it with the Carbon there. Sometimes you just in these intense back and forth matches, as we've been to each side what feels like about 10 times at this point. We saw it with the Carbon of just a bit of individual brilliance there as they got like 2 or 3 kills and able to I obviously didn't get lead, but they were able to push back and hold their own for a while there.
But then the exchange is sometimes you just literally do nothing for your team, and you're not able to contribute because everybody outranges you.
That is an issue, especially when you have double backline. That's for sure.
Yeah, this is a very interesting team composition that the Hopeful Pickup has, and I mean it's been definitely bringing some entertainment in how this game is going out. It's very back and forth.
Yes, this is a tense game as now we head into the last 30 seconds. You'd think Cowboy Vac Pop just are looking to stall now. They don't want to push up too far and give any unnecessary space away as we strikes come out for Hopeful Pickup as they look to just try and get into mid, try and get some kind of control. As you see, mid is completely painted orange, full of Cowboy Vac Pop's paint. And now, here we go. Hopeful Pickup trying to rush in, but
we've got the overtime. They've got a little bit of control. They're trying to make their push. Cowboy Vac Pop was trying to build up specials to be able to stop this. I think they do get the opportunity to stop it just before the triple ink strike gets to defend the space. And that is going to allow Vac Pop to get the win in game 2, bringing the score to both sides to 1 apiece. Only one player, well, every win is good, but only one of these teams will get the advantaged 2 points in this to bring them more favor in advancing to the gold side of bracket.
Yeah, that game 2 was really intriguing. It's just how I didn't even realize before I said it how close we were to endgame there. With how back and forth that was. I could have watched that all night, to be honest with you. But we saw from game 1, even though it was a KO, just how close in skill these teams are, or it seems at least. Yeah.
They're both putting in a lot of work. That was one of those situations. That might have been another win for the Hopeful Pickup if they were just like half a second faster with that triple ink strike. Granted, there's a lot more, like, it's easy to look at those big key moments and be like, oh, that's what lost us. But there's usually a lot more going on that can ultimately determine that. I love their heavy backline loadout, but that's probably something that, especially in tower control, where the tower actually didn't give that much height advantage where it usually does. So this is one of the cases where having such a strong backline wasn't really paying off as well.
No, it's funny. You're kind of always fighting an uphill battle on Inkblot Tower. You've got, because on opening you're lower than Plat, and then by the time you get to Plat, you're lower than Bats, which is typically where most teams, or at least should be, defending from.
And we'll be heading into our final game, and it looks like they kind of gone back to their standard comp loadout, swapped away from that Carbon Roller, back to the Dread Rainer. Definitely the right choice to make out of those 2 weapons for this game. But the Slosher coming in and is immediately making itself a little scarier than the Dread Rainer, which is how fast and how heavy that damage comes out. Really just making a name for themselves as they get their triple ink strike ready. Looking for a good moment to really pull it out, though I don't think it, especially if they've got control of the field, you don't need to drop it anytime soon. Might be best to as a way to kind of just force that charger away further and further away from the main stage.
Yeah, you as you said, get that paint on zone early, and now just kind of use it as a small special. Just keep them pushed back for as long as you can. You see that Jet just trying to poke around all curves and arches that they can, just to keep that charger at bay. We see all 4 specials online for Hopeful Pickup, though, as they pop them all at once, forcing Cowboy Vac Pop out. We see the Roof Slider go in and get at least a trade.
Unfortunately, I don't think the trade's going to do too much, considering the one that got splatted was a Tacticooler, so it was a pretty quick recovery. That said, they're preventing the rest of Vac Pop from being able to access that Tacticooler, which is definitely very advantageous for them, just because whenever the Tacticooler comes up, you know the entire team wants to crowd around it, and preventing them from doing so is a very beneficial thing to be able to pull off.
Yeah,
Currently, oh, go ahead.
something I just noticed is the Tri Nouveau coming out for the cooler output, which isn't the fastest, but it all sloshes are really good for this map mode combination. And it seems to be working out for them now.
Indeed, it's actually been making some pretty good progress now that you mention it. Like they're just doing such a really good job with that paint output. They're just lots of coverage, buckets, especially on this stage. Those upper angles, that platforms, there's very good opportunities and positions to be able to set yourself to reach those high grounds, because there's a lot of places where when you have advantage, like Cowboy Vac Pop has, you unless you're like standing on the center point, you're at low ground. You're underneath your opponent, which means you kind of want tools that help kind of equal that out. And Slosher is the perfect pick. Try Slosh just as well, especially when it gives you another opportunity for tacticoolers. Unless that happens.
Yeah, unfortunate. Got pushed out with the strikes there from Hopeful Pickup, and three going down, unable to get that cooler going, and now it's going to be looking like a stall for Pickup to just try and dwindle those points down and maybe take the lead here, as it looks like they're all kind of grouped up on top left for Cowboy Vac Pop, popping out some strikes, but they may be panic specials at this point just to try and scratch onto that lead, as we see more going the left side, and yeah, just looking to take the lead here, and it looks like they're finally going to do so after a long fought battle. Rooslider coming out but gets blocked by the wall, somehow still flips the zone back into Cowboy Vac Pop's favor, but they got a decent penalty to try and crunch down on now.
They're quickly burning through it. They are moving fast in. They are trying to stall as much as possible, even if it costs the entire team's life right now. We have another Reef Slider just about ready. I can imagine they want to pull it out, but they're too busy with the fight. Can't get it out. We do have the triple ink strike, and the Hopeful Pickup manages to reset those points. So now Cowboy Vac Pop has that much more work to be able to do, to be able to recover, as Hopeful Pickup still in lead with only 15 points and the additional 20 that they just need to kind of clear up.
Yeah, that was a huge pick on the Tetris there. They lost their Reef Slider, unable to flip the zone. Strike stall it for a moment. Maybe finally Reef Slider coming out, taking the zone back in their favor. Finally, are they able to just hold on long enough as we near down to the last 30 seconds of this match here.
They do only have 15 points of penalty and then just 7 more points. They can definitely do this. Hopeful Pickup rushing to get as much special ready as possible to be able to get for a sudden burst. In comes the triple ink strike. Will this be enough? It's not. They need a little bit more paint output. They are rushing to try to power through, and they succeed. Triple ink strike response coming in, but it's not enough. 3 seconds left on the clock. 2, 1, and it is game for the Hopeful Pickups.
Wow.
Coming in with a phenomenal last second push, getting the triple ink strike, utilizing that to start scaring Cowboy Vac Pop into making them have to turn around and focus on the base. And when they were focused on the base, not only was there paint competition going on, but it left their guard down, and their backs turned, so it was easy for Hopeful Pickup to pick up a few splats along the way to get themselves into an advantageous position, paint over that turf. The opposing team's triple ink strike was just a little too late in that situation, and they didn't have anything else to support. You saw 3 people jump, 2 to 3 other players jumping to that spot, trying to rush in for the last second to get a little bit more paint, and just too little too late. Hopeful Pickup managing to score themselves a 2-1 against Cowboy Vac Pop in a very exciting battle of these two teams, and likely helping secure themselves a position to the gold bracket.
Yeah, really intense game 3, really intense set overall. We saw how tense that game 2 was, and even more so this game 3. We saw the strikes online from that CNF charger, and I was thinking that maybe they should have popped it a little sooner, because they tried to get a couple pop shots off before they pop them. But I think if you're in that situation, you just pop there and then get that zone as quickly as you can. Maybe it was a case of waiting for your team to be in a position. I don't know, but all props to both of these teams here. That was just as a neutral, a really intense and wonderfully exciting set to watch. So good luck to both of these teams during the rest of this tournament.
Indeed, a best of luck to them. But that's not all the Splatoon that we have here. We'll have much more coming up after a short break. We'll be right back.